if you guys haven't been following the news, a polar onslaught has taken over the whole middle part of the country, making its way all the way down to Texas. Texas, which is well known for being a crazy hot state most of the time, doesn't see freezes like this very often, if ever at all. And so, what happened here is that what happened was the energy grid in Texas failed as Texas was, plunging into freezing temperatures, which most Texans aren't used to anyway. Massive rolling blackouts put millions and millions of people without energy, without ways to heat their homes. Now a bunch of water pipes froze, right? So I had a friend staying out there who's posting on Instagram that the whole street is snowed in. He can't get out. Uber Eats or whatever can't get in. And he's turning his faucets on and off. And the literally no water's coming out because the pipes, all the water's frozen in the pipes. So just absolutely crazy. This is climate change. This is caused by climate change because Antarctica is heating up, the poles, both Antarctica and the North Pole are heating up. It's sending more cold air into the middle of, closer to the equator. And so it's just insane. It's very much, people were comparing the satellite imagery to that apocalyptic global warming movie The Day After Tomorrow, and it was just like nearly the same thing. So immediately right-wing media began their well-orchestrated campaign to blame it all on green energy. The Texas governor was on Fox News saying this is the Green New Deal is going to cost lives. They tried to blame wind turbines and green energy. Wind turbines and green energy make up like a fraction of the energy in Texas, like 10%. And the majority of the energy in Texas is natural gas, coal, and some nuclear, right? And the cold was literally freezing natural gas in the pipes. But the other layer on this is that the Texas energy grid is not connected to the federal energy grid, to the interstate federal energy grid. It's privatized, which is a very conservative neoliberal thing to want to do, privatize what should be a public good. And so, this is all in the hands of companies. And it's funny because what do you hear from the right wing more often but, oh, I don't want the government in charge of that. They can't do anything right. Well, if you think, the government can do better than the corporation, then I got news for you. We're in trouble. We're in deep trouble. If you want McDonald's or Verizon to handle keeping the lights on better than, governments have their problems, but bureaucracy is actually a system, human systems that create fail safes and create backups. Bureaucracy is part of the reason we have civilization in the first place. I know it's a dirty word in most places, but it's not like this came out of nowhere. Check this out. This is Yahoo. Yahoo News is actually not bad for just mainstream news. Texas was warned a decade ago its grid was unready for cold. Looks like this is from Bloomberg. Bloomberg. Oh well. Federal regulators warned Texas that its power plants couldn't be counted on to reliably churn out electricity in bitterly cold conditions a decade ago when the last deep freeze plunged 4 million people in the dark. They recommend that utilities use more insulation, heat pipes, and take other steps to winterize plants. Strategies commonly observed in cooler climates but not in normally balmy Texas. Quote, where did these recommendations go and how were they implemented, said Jeff Dennis, Managing Director of Advanced Energy Economy and Association of Clean Energy Businesses. Those are going to be some pretty key questions. As investigators probe the current power crisis in Texas, which has left millions of people without power or promise of when it will be restored, questions are sure to be raised about how the state responded to the urgings from the 2011 analysis issued by the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission and the North American Electrical Reliability Corporation, which sets reliability standards. Oh, by the way, guys, like 40 people that we know of have already died in Texas and nearby states. Some states to the north of Texas share this grid with Texas. So people have already died because of this. As I was talking about earlier, I find the you know, the need that some people have to goof on Texas and goof on Texans for voting Republicans in who did this to their energy infrastructure. You know, be better than that, please. You know, this sounds like resistance lib shit on Twitter. You know, like just crapping on. I mean, this is it feels like blue MAGA stuff. Like, you know, trigger the Republicans instead of triggering the libs. You know. I mean, out here in California, our state catches on fire every year for most of the year. People die, firefighters die. In Montecito, you know, near Santa Barbara, we had a mudslide after a wildfire. Dozens of people were swept away and killed. You know, and you know, I know there is some Schadenfreude when these same politicians who were politicizing those tragedies now are dealing with it here, but I stand in solidarity with the people of Texas, and I think it's wrong to you know, try to make that a thing and to shame people who are literally fighting for their lives. They're under an advisory to boil water, the water they can get their hands on, and guess what? They have no way to heat the water to boil it. So stuff's really bad in Texas right now. There's no reason to pour salt into that wound if you actually want to, you know, expand, you know, programs that help humanity. Right? You're playing into the game that Rush Limbaugh, as we talked about, you know, started and has continued, that vitriolic hate back and forth. It doesn't help anything. But again, the coordinated campaign by right-wing media to blame green energy, I mean, it's just, this is the disingenuous tactics that we have to fight with. Argue that point because they're full of it. It's the natural gas and, frankly, the dirty, non-clean, non-green energy that is to blame for this. You know, and a lot of people were pointing to you know, wind turbines in Sweden and Norway and very cold, very Arctic, you know, climate places. Okay, so that's J. Andrew World says, as a Texan, thank you. You're welcome. I mean, it's sad that we have to do the bare minimum here with that, but this just really is how far our political discourse has deteriorated. I'm not just going to blame the right for that. There are a lot of people who just revel in being shitty to each other and laugh and, you know, really twisting the knife once it's already in. And I just think it's counterproductive nonsense. Andy also says, outside of the panhandle, it just doesn't get this cold. Yeah, so a lot of people just aren't ready for it. And, you know, solidarity, man, that's terrible. Full stop.